Joining us here on the line right now is Phil Mendelson, Chairman of the Council of the District of Columbia. Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for being with us. We ask you here to talk about what's going on with guns in D.C. As you know, on Saturday, a judge struck down the D.C. ban on guns outside the home, and we understand that the Attorney General for the District of Columbia has now gone and asked for a stay in that matter, to say we need 180 days to sort of see if we can get an appeal. At the very least, we need time to figure out how to implement your order. Where does that stand right now? Are you getting any sense of what the judge might do?
It's too soon to say, although the attorneys are optimistic that in cases like this, a stay is granted. And a stay is necessary because there's a lot of confusion. Let's be clear about what the court decided. The court said that our law, which is an absolute prohibition on anyone being able to carry a firearm or a handgun, that was unconstitutional. The court did not say that any restrictions were unconstitutional, and almost every state does have some restrictions. We need to sort that out.
Well, he said unless and until that his order would be in effect. Be interesting to see whether he does grant the stay. But, can't you solve that problem in relatively short order? I mean, other states have done it.
Well, this is pretty complicated, and it's more difficult because the nation's capital is unlike any other jurisdiction. We're the home to the president, all the 100 senators, all the congressmen, the international diplomatic corps. There are constant movements of these officials, and we see over and over again where there are threats and where there are actual incidents. Somebody shooting at the White House a couple of years ago. We've had over the years...
Well, hold on. Wait, I get all that. I mean, we wouldn't deny that is the case.
Yes.
But what changes if you say to the 3,000 legal gun owners in the District of Columbia, it's a little more than 3,000 out of 650,000 people who live here, well, you've jumped through all the hoops. You've shown that you will go through the onerous burden that one has to go through to legally own a gun in the District of Columbia. What's wrong with those people being able to carry their gun outside the home? What threat do they bring?
Well, I'm not sure how to answer that question right now, but the problem is more difficult than that. And you can see that from how the MPD has responded with its instructions to officers, which is that anybody who's not a resident, if they're allowed to carry in their state, can carry in the district. That's far beyond the 3,000 you're talking about. And the requirements for getting a carrying license in another state like Utah or Wyoming may be very, very different and far more lax than what we would want here in the district.
But Chairman Mendelson, with all due respect, before you start restricting people's constitutional rights, shouldn't you be able to answer that question? I mean, let's just focus on what Brian's question was. The 3,000 people who legally own guns in the district, why should they not be able to defend themselves while walking through the streets?
Yeah, what threat do they bring?
All I'm saying is that it's not a simple question with a simple answer. What we've seen in a lot of states...
But you've gone ahead and restricted it already. So you obviously do have an answer to the question because you have passed a law saying you can't carry your gun outside of the home. And
the court has said that it goes too far. What a lot of states have done is what they call a may carry rather than a shall carry. That is that the chief of police may issue a license to carry, not shall issue a license to carry.
Yeah.
What are the implications of that? Do every one of the 3,000 people have a right to a license to carry, or is it on a self-defense basis? That seemed to be an argument that the court was focused on, is that the right to carry is one that's linked to a self-defense. Does that mean that everybody who has a registered handgun shall be issued a license to protect themselves, let's say, in a movie theater?
It would seem to me that the greater concern would be those people who have not gone through the process of having a legally registered gun. Where are the attempts to try to take those off the street? Because that's where your problem is.
Well, right now, with the judge's ruling, the police cannot go after... cannot use the carrying the pistol without a license law to go after the thugs that you're talking about.
Well, my understanding is that the police chief has told the officers if they have a legally registered gun, you're not to arrest them. That doesn't mean you can't arrest the people who are not registered.
But it does mean they can't be arrested for a felony. And it does mean also that the charge against them is the misdemeanor of an unregistered firearm, a very different charge than the typical. If there's a robbery suspect You were robbed. You identify the person. I mean, you have a description. The police pick that person up 2 blocks away from where you were robbed within a half an hour. The person has a gun on them. That person is not going to get charged with robbery because they don't have the evidence yet. The person will be charged for carrying a pistol without a license, which is a felony offense. Under the court ruling right now, without the stay, the police have not had the ability to sort this out, and they're saying, sorry, you can't charge that person with carrying a pistol without a license.
Our guest is Phil Mendelson, chairman of the Council of the District of Columbia. One quick question. You raised the specter
Sure.
of the president living in the district and foreign dignitaries and other lawmakers.
Yes.
What makes you think, what statistics have you seen, what studies have you been shown that suggests that anyone who means to do harm to the president or an elected official would be prevented from doing that harm because of a gun law? I would think if they're willing to break a law like trying to shoot at an elected official, they're also willing to break a gun law.
Well, yes, but the issue here has to do with carrying. And right now under our law, it's very simple. You can't carry. Now, I'm not saying that in the end that's where we're going to...
What I'm saying is John Hinckley didn't care what the gun law was about carrying guns. He was going to do what he was going to do.
But if some people are allowed to carry, and one thing that's not resolved by the court decision is open carry, concealed carry. If people are allowed to carry, then at first blush to law enforcement, it's not clear whether that person is breaking the law. Under the current law, with a prohibition, it's clear if somebody's carrying a gun that they're breaking the law. All I'm saying is we need to sort this out.
Okay.
And it's not a simple question that can be answered in 24 hours. We need some time to sort this out.
And if the judge says no, we're gonna stick with my ruling?
Well, I can't speak for the attorneys, but in a case like this, typically a stay is issued, and I think that if the judge were to say, the trial court were to say no, probably the attorney general would go up to the Court of Appeals and ask for an emergency stay. We just need the time to sort this out.
We got to leave it there. Thank you, and keep us updated as you do sort it out, please. Chairman of the Council,
Sure.
Phil Mendelson.